just to be dangerous.
There's his smiling face.
Okay, we should be live now.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of council, July 14th, 2020. You have before you a copy of the agenda. Looking for a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Dufert. All in favor? Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. Item number 3 on the agenda, any declarations of interest? None being noted. Moving on to item number 4, announcements, award ceremonies, and presentations. Hang on one moment. I just have to expand my screen here. There we go. So I can see y'all again. Anything from council? Nothing noted. Anything from administration? Okay, nothing noted. Moving on to item number 5. You have before you a copy of the minutes of the special meeting of council dated July 7th, 2020. Looking for a motion to adopt the minutes. Councillor Dufert, seconded by Councillor Chambers. Any questions? No questions. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carried. Item number 6 is business arising from the minutes, and there being none, we'll move on to item number 7, administrative inquiry. SAO Smith.
Thank you, Your Worship. Before I pass it on to the directors, obviously it's been an interesting couple of days, another gift from the season of 2020 with maybe unprecedented, but certainly high level of rain and water levels the last couple of days. So we think systems held up fairly well, or quite well around town, but there was a few things that we were monitoring and keeping on track of with our public works and recreation department. So our directors may have some other updates there, but certainly a few things that we picked up. But overall, things seem to handle the high amount of rainwater and expanding or increasing river and lake waters. So I'll pass it on next to the Director of Finance.
Good evening. Thank you, Your Worship. From Finance Administration, we met with the Finance Committee yesterday. We'll be bringing forward to the next meeting for Council the 2019 audited financial statements, along with Q1 O&M and capital. Hoping to have Q2 information turned around fairly quickly. We're currently targeting mid-August to have that information before Council prior to starting the 2021 budget cycle. Stefan and I will be meeting with the Elks and the Hay River Golf Club and Hay River Skiing Club tomorrow to discuss renewing the user agreement and clarifying roles with those organizations. And lastly, we'll be working towards getting tax notices out in the mail next week. Thank you.
Thank you. SAO Smith?
Thank you. I don't know, is there any questions for Director of Finance?
Oh, Deputy Mayor Bouchard, go ahead.
A couple people have asked me about taxes, and do we have an update on when people are going to get their notices of taxes and when they're due and all that stuff? Have we set those dates?
Go ahead, Director of Finance.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for that question. We've put out a bit of communication on Facebook and through some of the other channels. Notices will be mailed before July 31st. So as I said, we're shooting to have those out in the mail next week if all goes to plan. Taxes will be due September 30th, and the end of the discount period, we're offering a 2% early payment discount this year, will be August 31st. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further from council? Nothing noted. SAO Smith.
Thank you, the Director of Protective Services.
Thank you, Your Worship. Not too much other than my reports that are in there, other than the fact that Protective Services Group has been busy yet another month. So far this month, we're up to 37 responses, 29 of which were ambulance, 7 fire related, and 1 special function. So we're keeping busy. Other than that, I don't have anything else to report.
Thank you. Any questions for our Director of Protective Services? Councilor Dowie, go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship. Not a question. I just want to say great job to our men and women on the fire department there. I know they've, as the director just said, there's obviously been a busy month there. I was out at work there on Friday and Saturday, and it seems like the sirens never stopped there for a good chunk of the whole 2 days. So it's it seems for some reason that there's more and more of that going on. And I understand that it's a commitment from a lot of people that do have full-time jobs and everything else on the go. So just want to say thank you to them and recognize them for that commitment.
Thank you. Anything further? SAO Smith.
I'll pass the floor to the Director of Recreation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, everyone. As the SAO mentioned, recreation assets were impacted by the heavy rain, and we do have some concerns with the high water. I think the biggest area of concern is at Port Landing. I have mentioned before that we have one of the retaining walls at Port Landing that we do have some planned work for repairs there. But this additional rain and high water had us a little concerned. We did have a couple contractors have a look at it today, and we're confident that it's secure for now, but we do need to schedule work there as soon as possible to ensure that retaining wall is in better shape, and that we won't have critical failure there. The water is very high at Port Landing. Our docks are, which we were in the last couple of years, we were concerned about the boat launch not being long enough and being difficult for people launching their boats. Now we're in the completely opposite direction, where the docks are above the retaining walls, and we've had to adjust the how the docks are secured. And but I do see that the seasonal pass holders are there attending to their boats, and none of the vessels are in a dangerous situation, but it did require some adjusting, and I think we're in a good spot now. Also, some concerns at our green spaces regarding drainage. We did tour around all of our green spaces today and had a look. Ray Benoit Park is one area where there's particular water accumulating at the park. And I did discuss with the Director of Public Works, and I know he also stopped by there, and we'll be discussing further as to how we can get the water to drain away from there better. Other green spaces are not impacted as much. The ball diamonds were pretty wet today, but they were actually dealing with the water or draining the water away fairly well, especially once the rain stopped. The community center did have some problems. We were aware that the parking lot needs some addressing of the drainage in the back parking lot. It's not a major issue, but it's something we know we'll be addressing. And similarly, we have some small leaks, especially on the aquatic center side. And I think that's just a matter of having to go up on the roof and have a look and do some repairs, given that building is is now nearly 15 years old there, so it needs a bit of attention there. Other than that, assets held up pretty well, and this rain I think was a good test as to our drainage and our facilities as to how they can handle that rain. Summer heat and our beach attendant program are going very well. Checking in with the coordinators of both those programs, and we continue to hear good feedback, and it seems like staff are very happy with how things are going. Fitness classes also started this week. Our rec programmer confirmed that most classes met the minimum number of participants. So the schedule is nearly as advertised, and we'll be meeting next week to determine whether we advertise other classes or whether we look at bringing back other programs like social paddle and the rotating parks program, which are hit every year. It's good to see that the demand is very high for those fitness classes, and that residents were happy to return to some of the programs we used to offer, but under modified COVID realities. Our trail improvement crew started work on Monday. They're in training this week. They did some of our basic training that we have for new hires, and they are now doing chainsaw and brush saw training with a local contractor. That's 2-day training that we have crews do every year. They'll also be doing some bear awareness training, and we'll have them out on the field as soon as we can. A couple user group updates. The Hay River Men's Fast Pitch teams hosted Fort Simpson over the weekend for a mini tournament on Saturday. That went very well. Field appeared to be in good condition, and it was good to see a team from the NWT travel for that. The Men's Fast Pitch team also will be hosting an invitational tournament on July 24th. And that's in partnership with NWT Softball. And mixed slow pitch was set to start this week, but weather didn't cooperate. But it's good to see another regular user group getting back to play and back to using our rec facilities. Hockey NWT also provided an important update today. It appears that they have verbal confirmation from the Chief Public Health Officer that they received an exemption for hockey to resume under phase 2, which does give us helps us discuss with local sport groups, given that speed skating and figure skating also received confirmation that they can return under phase 2. And in talking with local sport groups, we'll be able to plan better for our ice season. And seemingly, if things remain the same, we should be able to return to a fairly regular ice user season. We haven't heard from the curling territorial or local curling representatives, but I think they're taking similar steps to try to return under phase 2. And I think that would have us with all our ice user groups returning under modified plans. It'll definitely require additional discussions and planning for scheduling, but I think it means that we can start planning for a nice season. Lastly, just wanted to note that our aquatic staff, we've have 3 job advertisements out, open until July 30th, and we've already received at least 2 resumes for the aquatic supervisor position. So we're happy to see that, and I hope to receive more resumes for those positions. Those are my updates. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for our Director of Recreation? Nope, none being noted. Matthew Smith.
Thanks, the Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Your Worship. As has been noted, it's been very wet out there the past couple of days, which has definitely impacted our public works operations. I did do a tour all around town today, just checking out drainage and noting where the areas are that we do have some issues. For the most part, the drainage around town was great. Our ditches are filling up a little bit with water, but it's mainly sticking to the ditches, which is how it's intended to work. So was happy with that. Have noted a couple areas to follow up on once the levels do go down, just to try and figure out how to improve the drainage in a couple of areas. Our guys have also been monitoring the sewer system and our lift station levels just to ensure that there's no issues there. Things have looked good there. I don't anticipate us running into any issues with high sewer levels. The system has been working well there. Our grader was out in Old Town last week, working on the road, or well, not our grader, contractor's grader was out on the roads in Old Town last week, working on the roads there. Hasn't been out yet this week just due to the weather. If the rain holds off, we will be moving to the industrial area this week and addressing some of the potholes and smoothing out the roads in that area this week. Our line painting has also been pushed back just due to the weather. Anticipate, well, I think the forecast is calling for some more rain later this week, so probably pushing that back into next week when we'll get to doing the line painting. Our Caribou Crescent construction project has also been on hold the past couple of days due to the weather, so a little bit of a delay there, which will just push the end date back out a bit. But other than that, everything with that project seems to be on schedule and going along nicely. Other than that, we will be, I believe we're setting up interviews for our 2 vacant positions coming up next week. So hoping to get those filled and get a full complement of staff. And those are my updates.
Thank you, Director. Any questions from council? Deputy Mayor Bouchard.
Yeah, I don't know. Mike's got all the questions from me this week. I had a couple questions about, and these are kind of roadways that either we've looked at or we're looking at in the future. I'm just wondering if we're just putting them on our budget radar. I'll give you kind of a list here. I had a couple of residents from 553 on that north 553 road that goes, it's the airport lease I think that we have. That roadway, people turning into 553, that road's been dusty and now it's muddy and potholed. I don't know if that was ever chip sealed before or not, but I know there's a realignment there was in the plans for a while there, but I'm not sure. Maybe that's a roadway that needs to be looked at. Another roadway was the industrial area road. The first road going into the industrial area, it's obviously very beat up because of the weather, I know, but it's kind of half gravel, half chip seal, and I'm not sure if we've ever made a decision on what to do that. So might be something we want to talk about in strategic plan or in budget, looking at that road. I think we talked about the museum, Fisherman's Wharf, maybe chip sealing that road. And I know we talked about to the territorial government, maybe about their program. And another roadway that I know the golf course one is starting to get deteriorated again. And look to see if we could put that on our to-do list as maybe through that territorial government access program that we used last time to do it. And the last roadway that I brought up a little while ago, it's the hole that we dug right by Esso and Aurora Ford there, and it's still pretty deep there. And obviously the last couple of days it's gotten worse, but yeah, I'm just wondering if we can have a look at those. And my last question would just be, I see we're doing a street sweeping, that's good. Do we not still have that big commercial sweeper that, the sit-in type style? And we're not using that anymore, or I'm just wondering.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I will comment that we are going to get an update from administration on exactly where we're at on a strat plan. And shortly after that, we will be having, because we're about to go into budget again, an update on, and we'll be having a meeting. What I want to do is get us together for hopefully half a day at least and take a look at our priorities and our strategic plan and moving forward. So those things can be addressed at that time as well. But I see Mike was making notes, so I don't know if he wants to answer that one. But the second question, yeah, go ahead, Director.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll answer the second question first because it's a short answer. our street sweeper is in for repairs right now, so they're using the smaller one right now to do some work. Once the parts come in and it gets fixed, we will be using it again. As far as the roads go, the SO location will be on our patching list for this year, so it will. We'll look to add a little fill in there probably pretty soon here. Just level it out a little bit, but in terms of asphalt on it, that'll happen through our patching program this year. The entry into 553 there, that road, we're looking at a couple of different options for it. I think as part of our patching program this year, we'll include a provisional item that is that road, just so we get a better idea of the pricing for it. I believe we should be able to get better pricing than we do for our patching, because it's an easier stretch to apply asphalt to. Just a straight stretch with no curbs or concrete to work in. So we'll add that as a provisional item just to see what the cost is and then see how it fits into our budget. The industrial road is a much larger road, longer road, so more expensive to do, but it is definitely at the top of my list. I know it has been noted a few times here, so it is on the top of the list, and we will come up with some approaches on how we want to deal with it. I will add the other two roads that you mentioned, the Museum Fisherman Wharf Road and the Golf Course Road, to my list, and I agree with Deputy Mayor that the access funding might be a good fit for those roads if it's available to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions from council? Councillor Anderson, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a note to thank Public Works for putting that extra effort in through the 2 days of rain to go around and check and make sure that all our facilities and the water and sewage plants are working properly. So thank you for that. I have, however, had several residents approach me with regards to issues with sewage and water backup in their homes, and some insurance claims have been so close together that residents are not able to claim for fear of having their insurance policy cancelled. As Public Works departments set out policies and procedures so as to ensure that all residents are protected from these types of events. I've had, like I say, I've had several members from the public come to me. As Public Works checking lines, lift stations, and manhole covers on a frequent basis so as to ensure that as a town we are doing the utmost possible to protect our residents and their homes. And I guess in particular, Cranberry Crescent, is there an issue with that crescent or is there not? I'd sort of like to know. Thank you.
Director, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will say that our Public Works crews do as much as they can and to monitor situations and to ensure that our water and our sewer systems are operating as they should be, and we're not getting backups. There are issues, of course, that are outside of our control or are difficult to monitor. It's hard to see what's in the pipes. We can monitor the lift stations and the manholes, but as far as the mains and stuff go, they're difficult to monitor. So we can't always anticipate where the problems are going to be, but we do address them and fix them as quickly as possible when problems do arise. As far as Cranberry Crescent in particular goes, the lift station, or I guess our full lift station and sewer system underwent an analysis and a report. It was either 2018 or 2019 that Stantec did for us that kind of addressed where the issues are, what the issues are. It did speak to the issue that we do have in the springtime where the spring melt puts added stress onto our sewer system. And we do get cases where the pumps from lift 3 and lift 6 are fighting against the pumps from lift 1 or the pumps from lift 2. The recommendations coming out of that report is what has led us to this new lift station project that is going forward this year. So that new lift station, not only is it going to allow us the capacity to add the fish plant onto our system, but it will also increase the capacity of all of our other lift stations. All of our other lift stations will then feed into our new lift station, so they won't be fighting against each other. They'll be pumping into the new lift station without that competition there, and then the new lift station will be pumping everything out to the lagoon. So once the new lift station is in, that should alleviate problems that we've had with other lift stations, and that's all based on that report that we did do a couple of years ago. Thanks.
Thank you, Director. Further, Councillor Anderson?
Well, thank you for that. So this new lift station is very important to our community and so forth. So that's fundamental moving forward. I mean, we can't correct the past, but we can look forward and see what we can do with respect to making sure, you know, we reduce any future incidents and so forth and do the best we can. I mean, that's why people have insurance. But however, as we all know, that if they happen back to back, there is serious issues with the residents that face the residents. But thanks for Public Works. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further from council? Nothing noted. SAO Smith?
Thank you, Your Worship. And maybe I'll just add one point to the Director of Public Works comments on that as well. So, when we get these extenuating circumstances, such as the rain that occurred the last couple of days, activities such as the Director pointed out earlier, that, additional monitoring and awareness of where stresses may occur. So those types of activities are occurring now as well. And one other thing I wanted to point out, just on the comment earlier by Councillor Dewey on the good work by our protective services and the specifically last Friday on the fire department's response to the house fire. It's certainly an unfortunate event for our community and the family that's been impacted. And I think while we're all looking to provide opportunities to support that family, I'd also say that, in talking to Director of Protective Services, we're certainly always recruiting as well into the fire department and ambulance response. So it's we've had a crew that's been responding to a lot of the calls as of late, and just invite the community as well to consider how they can give back to the community. And certainly one way is to join Ross and his great team over there. Other things for me, just a couple points. I did have a meeting with MTS today. It was an opportunity to meet with them and me entering into the new SAO position. But did share some information with their short and midterm plans and also discussion on reviewing of their land file with the town. Also had a meeting last week with the Housing Corporation and our worship and Councillor Anderson. So we did get an update there on public housing, some discussion on the temporary shelter. There's a proposal from one tenant that we received and for development application and have approved based on conditions that need to be met. But they are working towards various government departments and agencies towards doing something in town for temporary shelter for homeless. And also out of that meeting was an indicated commitment or an interest, at least in CMHC visiting with the town sometime in the future. One other item I'll update you on with respect to the pavilion. So we are continuing to work out there, obviously impacted a bit by the weather as of late. But we plan to wrap up those activities in the next week or two. We had indicated that we were looking at dates, I think as early as this weekend, for opening up the market. The operator has met with several of the vendors, and consideration of a few factors there. They are now targeting August 1st, so the first Saturday of August for opening. And that concludes my update, and I think the administrative inquiries, unless there's any questions from council.
Go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Worship. No, we had a good meeting with the NWC Housing Corp, and thank you, Glenn, for giving that little presentation. I appreciate that. One thing that we should probably consider, and I'm not too sure if we need to get the help from the town council and the mayor, but we only have one rental officer in the Northwest Territories. And I think in talking to several groups in town, landlords and corporations and so forth, it might be ideal to lend a letter of support to have a rental officer allocated for the South Slave. You know, I don't think, you know, having that will certainly help, you know, tenants and landlords alike in regards to dealing with issues, and in a timely manner, and so forth. And I think it would help the housing authority too, with respect to any issues that they may have with tenants. But anyway, so just a thought. I'm not too sure how we should proceed with that, but that would be my recommendation anyway, if we can get a letter of support.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. I will make note of that and see what I can come up with. Second rental officer. Okay. Anything further from council? Any other questions? Comments? No. Okay. Thank you, SAO Smith. Moving on to item number 8, committee report. 8A, Public Works monthly report for June 2020. Councillor Dufert. You're on mute, Councillor Dufert.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the Council of the Town of Hay River accepts the Public Works monthly report for June 2020.
I'm going to need a seconder as Councillor Willows is not available. Deputy Mayor, thank you. Any questions to the motion? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item 8B, Tourism and Economic Development Report for June 2020. And Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chambers that the Council of Town River accepts the Tourism and Economic Development Report for the month of June 2020.
Thank you. Any questions regarding the motion? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item 8C, Recreation Monthly Report for June 2020. Councillor Chambers.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Groenewegen that the Council of the Town of Hay River accepts the report entitled Recreation and Community Services Monthly Report for June as presented.
Thank you. Any questions to the motion? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item 8D, Emergency Services Monthly Report for June 2020. Deputy Mayor Bouchard.
Thank you, Worship. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Anderson. The Council of Town of Hay River accepts the Emergency Services Activity Report for June 2020 as presented.
Thank you. Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item 8E, excuse absent for Councillor Dowie. Deputy Mayor Bouchard. You're on mute, Deputy Mayor. Sorry.
Okay, sorry about that. Trying to find my place here. Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Anderson. The Council on Haver excuses Councillor Dowie from Standing Committee of Council Tuesday, July 7th. Did we not have another one? Sorry. Didn't we have two meetings that day? Did we have two different motions?
Yes, we did. One was for committee. and-
Mayor Jameson, the other one was a special meeting, so there was no, so it's automatically does not have to come back to this one.
Okay. Thanks for the
That
clarification.
one passes at the special meeting.
Thank you. Right, because this was committee and we brought it forward.
Okay.
All in
Okay.
favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item, number 9, new business. 9A is an excused absence for Councillor Willows for tonight's meeting. I'm looking for a motion. Councillor Anderson, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. Recommendation that the Council of the Town of River excuses Councillor Willows from the regular meeting of Council Tuesday, July the 14th, 2020.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Dufert. Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item 9B is updating our signing authority. Looking for a motion. Councillor Dowie, go ahead.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation that the Council of Town of Hay River appoints the following council and administrative representatives as bank signing authorities: Mayor Candace Jameson, Deputy Mayor Robert Bouchard, Senior Administrative Officer Glenn Smith, Director of Finance and Administration Sam Mugford, and Director of Public Works. Bless you, Deputy Mayor.
Sorry, I'm not on mute.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Chambers. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. 9C, use of RFQ process. I'm looking for a motion. Councillor Anderson, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. Move the recommendation that the Council of Hay River approves the use of the RFQ process for the 2020 asphalt patching program.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Dowie. Any questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, so can I just get a little more clarification on how this process is work and different than from what we did before? Sorry.
Sure. S.A.O. Smith.
Thank you, Worship. If I missed anything, I'll ask the Director of Public Works to fill in. But I typically what happens is once we hit a trigger of about, I think it's $25,000, sorry, a certain amount that's lower than this anyways, but we would go out for tender. But just given the nature of this as a supply material, where we price based on the units, it doesn't make for a good tendering process. So we're kind of stuck between between following policy and you know, the nature of this type of procurement. So in the past several years now, I know at least that we've taken this approach to ensure that we have your approval to step outside of the typical RFP process. Maybe I'll just ask if Director of Public Works has anything further to add there.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think S.A.O. Smith pretty much covered it. This is the same way we've done it for the past 3 years. The reason it's coming to council is because it is outside of our procurement policy, because it is over the $50,000 price that RFQs are usually limited to. So we need council approval to move forward with it. But it is the same process we've used for the past 3 years at least.
Thank you. Further, Deputy Mayor Bouchard.
Yeah, I just had a question, and I know a long time ago when I was a previous on council, I think we did a multi-year contract on a tender process like this so that we get a paving system in town. Have we ever looked again at that? Like, we did have a local guy at the time. I think we have potential of a couple local people that could be providing that service, but is that something we could look at in the future to do, where you basically do a base amount of patching that you're gonna do, whether that's $20,000 or $30,000, and then if we need more, we need more type thing. But yeah, I think it was a question I asked early in this council, but maybe just consideration new Director of Public Works to look into.
SAO Smith?
Yeah, I think leave it with us and we can have some more conversation on that. Certainly understand your point the Deputy Mayor is bringing up. There's the patching program, and then there is work specific to resurfacing that's gone out for contracts, such as say Caribou Crescent. We can endeavor to take a look at that and see what type of synergies or some options that might be available. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from council? None being noted, all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9D, letter of support for the NWC Association of Communities. Just a quick deal. I know that it was, I did send out some further information on this, but it was later in the day today. They do want to come in and do this, what do they call it? The DOPE experience. And I know that they've done it in quite a few of the communities. It was suspended, of course, because of COVID. They will be following all protocols for COVID before they do them here. So they are looking for full support from the council before moving ahead with bringing them in. So I'm looking for a motion. Councillor Anderson, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. Move to the recommendation that the Council of the Town of Hay River directs administration to draft a letter supporting the drug experience workshop offered to youth in Hay River in August 2020.
Thank you. Seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any questions? None being noted, all in favor? Thank you. 9E, Municipal Services Monthly Report for June 2020. Looking for a motion. Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Worship. I move that the Council of Town of Hay River accepts the municipal enforcement report for June 2020 as presented.
Seconded by Councillor Gunnawagen. Any questions to the motion? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Just a question, bylaw officer or that assistant fire chief, I think is what it is. Have we put that out to tender again or competition, and are we expecting that to be out?
SAO Smith.
Sorry, are you referring to the protective service specialist position?
Sorry, I forgot the name. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, it is out it has gone out for competition. The competition is closed, and similar to the two positions for public works and services, we are looking to schedule interviews for next week.
Perfect. Thank you. Any further questions from council? None being noted, all in favor? Thank you. Moving on to item number 10. A bylaw 2420 mill rate bylaw. Looking for third and final reading. Need a motion. Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
I'll move third reading of bylaw 2420 mill rate bylaw.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Dufert. Any questions to the motion? None being noted. All in favor? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Item number 11 on the agenda is notices of motion. And we don't have any, so moving on to item number 12, it's in camera, looking for a motion to go in camera. Councillor Anderson and seconded by Deputy Mayor Bouchard, all in favor? Thank you. Going to just take